Z-level finishing offers the choice between a constant Z increment and a Z scallop height. In prior versions of DFS, the Z-level portion of steep and shallow finishing only offered the constant Z increment. So in DFS 2013, the user now has the same step-down options in steep and shallow as are available in the standalone Z-level finishing toolpath. In this part here, I have two different processes on this surface mill feature, and I have a Z-level in here just so I can illustrate. First of all, just a traditional Z-level finish with a constant step down. Okay, and there we see our toolpath. I'll go to a right view, and you can see this constant Z increment regardless of the slope of the part. Okay, in Z-level, we do have a remedy for that. We can go to the op list and we can go to the attributes of that operation, scroll down a bit, and you can see scallop step over, and that is set to false. I'll double click that. That's a little tricky. You don't always have to do the pull down menu. You can just double click the parameter name and it will toggle through the available options there. I'm going to set that to true. I've got a scallop height of 0.025 millimeters. It's a good idea to set a minimum Z increment, but in this case I'm not going to set it, and you'll be able to see why. I'm just going to leave this alone, and I'll recalculate, run this toolpath again, just reviewing how the scallop height affects a Z-level finish. Alright, here comes the toolpath, and it looks quite different immediately because there are some shallow parts of this this part here. I once again go to our right view, and you can see here where we have this long shallow surface, we get really small step downs. This is where we might want to set, or this is where we definitely would want to set that minimum Z increment. This is not really desirable to do this way, and in fact a straight Z level on this part is probably not the ideal strategy. So that's where steep and shallow comes into play. I'll bring that one back, and as you recall, steep and shallow combines two different processes: Z-level for the steep areas, and shallow can either be spiral or parallel. That's your choice, and it will change back and forth between those two strategies based on the slope of the geometry. And in the past, when you had the Z-level portion occurring, it was a constant step down, and you could not set a scallop height for that. So let's go to the op list, and I'm going to once again access the attributes, scroll down, and you see scallop step over now. We still have the shallow step over, which is the parallel or spiral, whatever your choice is for the shallow areas, and the steep step over applies to the Z level, and you can see here it's the constant step over. You still have that choice, or you can double click and enable the scallop step over. The steep step over dims out, the shallow step over remains the same, and then you have your scallop height and minimum Z increment that you can set for this as well. I'm going to do one more thing to make this really obvious so you can see that this works and how it takes effect. I'm going to go back over to the part tree and right click this steep and shallow process. I'm going to change my threshold angle to something like 5 degrees, and this will cause a lot more of the part to be cut with that Z-level finish. And this will make it really obvious to see where those scallops are taking place. Alright, the toolpath starts down. Once again, you can see that we do have the scallops. They're very obvious on this slope here. Again, I would probably want to set a minimum Z increment, and then you can see the spiral working up on the flatter areas. Really what would be probably a really good idea here would be just to go back and set this threshold angle back to where it was. I think it was at 30 degrees. Okay, so more of the part will be cut with spiral. Those flatter areas are now cut with the spiral toolpath. These slopes up here, the top, and the rest of the part, the steeper areas, are cut with that Z-level finish using the scallop height.